Welcome to Omas True Stories. This is the story of Nyasha.
Lived a young girl named Nyasha. She was known for her beauty, radiant like the morning sun. Nyasha's beauty was unlike anything the village had ever seen. Her skin gleamed, and her eyes sparkled with the depth of 1,000 stories. Every man in the village longed to be with her, but there was a secret, one Nyasha herself had only recently discovered. At night, Nyasha was haunted by strange dreams of a serpent lurking within her, controlling her thoughts and desires. The serpent, coiled in the depth of her being, whispered dark secrets to her, telling her that she would bring doom to any man who dared touch her. One fateful night, a young man, Mosi, who had been courting Nyasha for months, came to visit her. He could not resist her charm. They spent the night together, but the next morning, Mosi was found dead in his hut, his face pale, and his body cold. The village mourned Mosi's death, believing it was a tragic accident, unaware of the evil lurking within Nyasha. Another man, a strong hunter named Tendai, enchanted by Nyasha, approached her. Despite the whispers of his fellow villagers, he was determined to win her love. He too spent the night with her, and by morning, Tendai was found dead in his bed, with no sign of illness or injury. Whispers began to circulate through the village. How could this young, strong man die without cause? Elders gathered, trying to make sense of the mysterious deaths. Some said it was the work of angry spirits, others believed Nyasha herself was cursed. Nyasha, unaware of the deaths being linked to her, continued her daily life, though haunted by the whispers of the serpent inside her. The village healer, a wise woman named Anaya, began to suspect that something was terribly wrong with Nyasha. Anaya confronted Nyasha, telling her about the mysterious deaths of the men who had been with her. Nyasha was horrified. I didn't know. Nyasha wept, as she confessed to Anaya about the serpent in her dreams. Anaya sensed a dark force at play. She told Nyasha that she had been possessed by a powerful evil spirit. Nyasha, filled with fear, begged Anaya to help her. The serpent within her slithered and hissed, knowing it was being discovered. Anaya gathered the elders and told them of the curse that had taken root inside Nyasha. The elders were divided, some wanted Nyasha banished, while others believed she could be saved. Nyasha began to withdraw, fearing that every man who came near her would die. But her beauty was like a magnet, drawing men to her, even as rumors of the death spread through the village. One night, a wealthy merchant named Jabari, passing through the village, was enchanted by Nyasha's beauty. Ignoring the warnings of the villagers, he sought her out, convinced that he would be the one to win her heart without consequence. They spent the night together, and by morning, Jabari was dead, his lifeless body adding to the growing mystery. The village was gripped by fear. Almost all the men had either died or were too afraid to approach Nyasha. Nyasha, overcome with guilt, isolated herself in her hut, praying for the curse to be lifted. Anaya, the healer, knew that something more needed to be done. She traveled deep into the forest to consult the ancient spirits. The spirits told Anaya that Nyasha's curse was not her fault, but the result of a deal made by her ancestors with dark forces. To break the curse, Nyasha would have to face the serpent inside her, a task that no one had ever survived. Anaya returned to the village, telling Nyasha of the only way to rid herself of the serpent, a dangerous ritual deep in the forest. Nyasha, desperate to free herself from the curse, agreed to undergo the ritual, despite the danger. Anaya gathered the elders, and they prepared for the ritual, which would take place during the next full moon. Word spread throughout the village, and many gathered to witness the ritual, hoping that the curse would finally be lifted. The night of the full moon arrived. Nyasha, trembling with fear, stood in the center of the sacred forest clearing. Anaya began the ritual, chanting ancient words of power as the flames of the ceremonial fire flickered in the wind. Suddenly, Nyasha felt the serpent within her stir, more violently than ever before. The serpent's voice hissed in her mind, telling her that she would never be free, that it would consume her soul. Nyasha collapsed to the ground, writhing in pain as the serpent began to emerge from within her. The villagers watched in horror as a shadowy form slithered from her body, its eyes glowing with malevolent light. The serpent coiled around Nyasha, whispering that she belonged to it, and that no ritual could save her. Anaya, undeterred, raised her staff and called upon the spirits of the ancestors to intervene. The serpent recoiled, hissing in fury, as the air around the clearing began to shimmer with spiritual energy. Nyasha screamed, the serpent tightening its grip around her. She felt her life force draining. But then, a glowing figure appeared, a spirit from Nyasha's ancestral line. It was her great-grandmother, who had first made the pact with the dark forces. The spirit, filled with regret, reached out to Nyasha, telling her that she could break the curse, but only if she had the strength to confront her darkest fears. Nyasha, weak and terrified, looked into the eyes of the serpent and realized that it fed on her fear. Summoning all her courage, she stood tall and faced the serpent, telling it that it had no power over her. The serpent shrieked in fury, but Nyasha's newfound strength caused it to weaken. Anaya continued chanting, and the spiritual energy around them grew stronger. With one final, desperate scream, the serpent dissolved into a cloud of smoke, vanishing into the night. Nyasha collapsed, exhausted but free. The serpent was gone. The village erupted in celebration, but Nyasha remained silent, still shaken by the ordeal. In the following days, the village men who had once been drawn to Nyasha now kept their distance, respectful of her strength and the ordeal she had endured. Nyasha felt a strange emptiness within her, now that the serpent was gone, but also a sense of peace. Anaya told Nyasha that the curse had been lifted, but that the scars of the past would take time to heal. Nyasha, now wiser and more resilient, began to rebuild her life, slowly regaining the trust of her fellow villagers. One by one, the surviving men of the village came to apologize for their past actions, acknowledging the power of the curse. Though many had died, those who remained saw Nyasha not as a threat, but as a survivor. Nyasha, still haunted by memories of the serpent, sought solace in her connection with nature, spending her days near the river, where she felt closest to the ancestors. The village elders recognized her as someone touched by the spirits, and they often sought her counsel on matters of great importance. As time passed, Nyasha found herself growing stronger, both in spirit and in wisdom. One day, a traveler from a distant village arrived, seeking Nyasha's help. He had heard of her ordeal and believed she could heal his village from a curse of it. Weeks have passed, and Nyasha has fully integrated back into the village. The people now see her not as a cursed woman but as someone who has endured great trials and come out stronger. Her newfound wisdom draws people to her, and she is often sought for advice on difficult matters. Nyasha spends her days helping the villagers with their daily tasks. She teaches the young children about the dangers of darkness and the power of the spirit world. Many of them sit around her, eager to hear her stories, while their parents look on in admiration, grateful that Nyasha has embraced her role as a mentor and guide. In the evenings, Nyasha often visits the river, where she feels closest to her ancestors. One night, as she sits by the water, she hears the faint voice of her great-grandmother's spirit, thanking her for breaking the curse. Nyasha feels a wave of peace wash over her, realizing that her ancestors are now at rest. The village elders, impressed by Nyasha's resilience and growth, invite her to join their council. They believe that her experience with the serpent and the spiritual world gives her valuable insight that will benefit the entire village. Nyasha humbly accepts, knowing this is a great honor. One day, a group of travelers arrives in the village, hearing of Nyasha's journey and seeking her wisdom. Among them is a young woman who fears she is also cursed. Nyasha listens carefully, recognizing the signs of a dark spirit. With the knowledge she has gained, Nyasha promises to help the woman, ensuring that no one else will suffer as she did. The village celebrates Nyasha's leadership with a grand feast. There is singing, dancing, and joy throughout the night. The villagers now fully embrace Nyasha as their protector and wise leader. The sky is filled with stars, and the air is alive with the sounds of drums and laughter. As the celebration winds down, Nyasha steps away from the crowd and gazes at the sky. She is no longer haunted by the serpent's curse. Instead, she is filled with a sense of purpose and peace. She knows that her journey is far from over, but for now, she is at peace. Her village is safe, and her soul is free. On my journey, and I realized that, no matter how dark or cursed life may seem, there is always strength within us waiting to be discovered. I found my way to freedom. Now I stand as a proof that light always returns, even after the darkest of nights. Thanks for watching Omastruestories. Subscribe, comment and share.